So let's get a little hypothetical here. I hear people say that prices are never going to come back down to levels we saw 2020. People like to use right before COVID as kind of the benchmark, which I tend to inherently, as a general rule, agree with. But what happens if things just get beyond the level of affordability for people? Then people stop buying things. Now, the last time I looked, the law of supply and demand still kind of held true in economics. In fact, what we've seen over the past 4 years has been largely due to initially supply chain challenges and just a flood of stimulus money from the government coming into the economy. A lot of dollars chasing few goods drove the prices up, and then this phenomena tends to want to feed on itself. People think, well, if I don't buy now, prices are just going to keep going up, so I better buy now so I can get stuff while I can still afford them. But what happens if, let's say, the Department of Government Efficiency does a great job and eliminates 250,000, 500,000, 1,000,000 government jobs? And what if unemployment goes from nominally, say, 4.2% to 10, 15, 20? Donald Trump on X, I used to be called Twitter. I never used Twitter. I don't use X, so I'm not really familiar with the platform that much. But anyway, he used the word depression. Presidents or incoming president-elects never use the word depression when describing what could be potentially facing us in an economy. If there's no money to buy things, prices are going to come down. In fact, prices are going to crash. We've seen this twice in history of the U.S. One, 1929 through 1935-ish. Prices did. They reset. They came down drastically. Again, we saw it not to the same degree, but during the 2008 to 2010, 11 great financial crisis, when we had the Great Recession, right? And prices adjusted back down. So don't necessarily think that it's impossible to see price levels that we saw back in 2020. Now, I guess the big question is, does the government step in and start throwing out a bunch of stimulus and such? Well, it's hard to do when you've got $36 trillion in debt. I mean, in other words, back if you look at 2008, when the government had to do quantitative easing to get us out of the great financial crisis, the government debt to GDP ratio was only about 40%. Today, we're sitting at 120% of debt to GDP. Where is the money gonna come from? And if it simply is created out of nothing, then we're talking hyperinflation, and that'll make depression days look like ball games and hot dogs in the park. It's going to be bad. So anyway, just some things to chew on as we see events unfold over the next couple of months.